Palace insiders are stunned as Prince William issues a final warning to Queen Camilla after she allegedly crossed a line no royal dares touch. Tensions boil behind closed doors, and now the future king isn't just speaking up. He's drawing a boundary that could shake the monarchy's foundation. The moment. Everything changed. The unforgivable line. Everything in the palace appeared calm, until it wasn't. One night, a whisper turned into a roar. Camilla had crossed a line no one expected. It wasn't a small misstep or a scheduling disagreement. According to multiple palace whispers and royal insiders, she allegedly took an action that shocked senior circles in a way that directly challenged family protocol and the future of the monarchy. Within hours, the quiet corridors of Buckingham Palace were humming with tension. The story broke through internal networks first, long before it reached public ears. Aides began to hint at leaks, influence plays, or political maneuvers that seemed to come from Camilla's camp, moves that seemed to bypass normal decision-making channels. By early morning, the rumors weren't subtle anymore. Staff members were whispering to each other, "William isn't going to let this go." And for the first time in months, the Prince of Wales was said to be openly furious. People who have worked with William for years describe him as steady, thoughtful, and disciplined. But this time, insiders said something broke. The incident wasn't an isolated rumor. It fit a pattern that had been viewed with increasing discomfort behind palace doors. The narrative wasn't just she did something small. It was framed as she acted in a way that challenged the future leadership structure, and that stung in the most sensitive quarter of all, the question of who shapes the monarchy's next chapter. By midday, senior aides were already talking about the need for a response. Not a mild blue pencil press release, a response with teeth. William's camp was reportedly gathering advisors and allies, quietly aligning strategy. Within hours, the phrase "final warning" began circulating in private briefings, not as dramatic rumor, but as fact among key advisors. It was described as a pivot point, the moment where William decided that discretion had limits, and that someone needed to step in. Sources in the palace described meetings where the air was thick with urgency and tension. Advisors who had previously tiptoed around delicate family balances were suddenly forced to take sides. Some tried to calm the waters before they boiled. Others believed the prince had every right to push back. And a few even expressed low-key admiration at how quickly he moved once he decided action was needed. And so the stage was set, not through headlines, but through quiet determination and privately uttered conversations, for a confrontation that would change the tone of royal internal relations. The phrase "final warning" wasn't just a talking point. It was the new framework through which everyone who mattered was being asked to view the situation. By the next morning, aides were describing William as focused and resolute, not reactionary. For him, this wasn't personal drama. It was about protecting a legacy, preserving a vision, and defining boundaries. Whatever actually happened to trigger the crisis, the outcome was unmistakable. The palace had entered a new phase of internal negotiation, with William at the forefront, ready to make a stand. What rumors claim Camilla did. Within hours of that decisive morning, the rumor mill went into overdrive. Almost instantly, whispers about what Camilla had allegedly done began circulating widely, first through royal insiders, and then through public commentary networks. The claims were dramatic, broad in scope, and controversial enough to catch global attention. According to speculation, Camilla had been attempting to exert undue influence over key decisions. especially those tied to how future leadership roles would be shaped once William ascended the throne. Some online posts and tabloid snippets suggested she had quietly inserted herself into discussions about William's future reign, offering opinions on staffing, ceremonial roles, and long-term strategic vision, areas traditionally managed by the heir's team. Critics called it a subtle but clear effort to undercut William's authority, portraying it as a move to realign influence in her favor. Others took it further, claiming she had ignored direct counsel from William's advisors, acting independently or behind closed doors to sway outcomes. The recurring theme in these allegations wasn't just influence, it was trust being breached. Commentators repeatedly said she had crossed an internal boundary that hadn't been touched in generations. She had become more than a supportive figure behind the monarch. She was allegedly stepping into territory reserved for the heir apparent. And to many observers, that crossed a line. Most of these claims remain unverified. There are no official palace leaks confirming them, and Buckingham Palace itself has not acknowledged any wrongdoing. But in royal rumor networks, which are notoriously rich, fast, and often influential, these stories gained traction almost immediately. They spread through social discussion, private briefings to friendly journalists, and rapid reposts among fan accounts. Within days, the tone of the conversation moved from "Did something happen?" to "What exactly did she do?" The public reaction played its part too. The mere suggestion that a queen consort was involved in strategic influence over the heir's domain was enough to spark heated debate. For many, it raised uncomfortable questions about power dynamics within the Windsor family. Supporters of William saw it as a campaign of quiet encroachment, a symbolic overreach into a space he believed should remain his. Critics of that view called the allegations exaggerated, pointing out that Camilla's public role is traditionally supportive, not strategic. Despite the lack of confirmed evidence, the tone of outrage among observers grew louder. People who had never paid attention to palace nuance suddenly weighed in across platforms, arguing over what Camilla's motives might have been and how far a queen consort should be allowed to reach. For many, this wasn't just rumor-mongering, it was a national conversation about influence, legacy, and institutional boundaries. And in that charged atmosphere, the narrative around Camilla's alleged actions became more than a rumor. It became a defining piece of the broader story, a story about power, perception, and the future of the British monarchy itself. William's growing frustration behind the scenes. For years, Prince William has been known as the calm, composed heir, but behind closed doors, that patience has been wearing thin. Royal insiders now say that the alleged incident with Camilla wasn't an isolated blow. It was the final straw in a series of subtle power plays that had already been testing William's tolerance for months. Sources close to the palace revealed that William has been deeply involved in shaping the monarchy's future, especially as his father navigates health issues and public scrutiny. He's reportedly drawn clear boundaries around his role, his vision, and his expectations, not just for himself, but for everyone in the royal orbit. And yet, Camilla's alleged move was seen as a direct challenge to that framework. What made things worse? According to whispers, this wasn't the first time William felt undermined. There had been moments before, quiet disagreements, decisions made without his input, public appearances where optics were skewed, all adding up. He didn't act then, but he remembered. And this time, when word reached him that Camilla may have crossed a deep personal and professional boundary, something in him shifted. Insiders say he didn't raise his voice, but his entire demeanor changed. He went silent, determined. His team, some of whom have been with him since his early 30s, reportedly saw a different side of the prince. One aide described it as controlled fury, while another said he'd been warning people for months that there were lines not to be crossed. This was one of them. This incident didn't happen in a vacuum. William had already been juggling strained dynamics within the royal family, distancing from Harry, covering for his father during cancer treatment, and stepping in at key events with Kate undergoing medical care. In that pressure cooker of responsibility, anything seen as sabotage, even unintentional, would feel like betrayal. He wasn't looking for a fight, said a former palace staffer, but he's not afraid to send a message when the crown is at stake. And this time, the message would come not with emotion, but with intent. William wasn't lashing out. He was taking control. The warning takes shape. When Prince William finally decided to act, it wasn't explosive. It was precise. Within hours of the alleged incident breaking through palace walls, his team had already arranged a closed-door meeting involving key royal aides, senior advisors, and trusted officials. The guest list wasn't long, but it was deliberate. Everyone in the room had influence, and everyone knew something serious was about to be said. According to palace insiders, the moment William entered, the room fell silent. There were no introductions, no pleasantries, just a firm, clear, and final directive. William reportedly issued what insiders have called a final warning. No more blurred lines, no more back-channel interference. The message was simple. Going forward, there would be boundaries, and they would be respected. This wasn't a casual complaint. It was a line in the sand, drawn by the future King of England. William's tone, according to those briefed afterward, was described as stern, deliberate, and absolute. There were no threats, no finger-pointing, just a quiet demand for change, and a clear implication that the status quo had ended. Even those sympathetic to Camilla were reportedly stunned by the intensity. Some had underestimated William's resolve, assuming he'd take the high road once again and absorb the friction. Instead, he came prepared with points, structure, and precedent, outlining what would no longer be tolerated. He didn't yell, said one source. He didn't need to. He made it absolutely clear this wasn't going to be repeated. Ever. For the royal household, used to soft diplomacy and carefully worded guidance, this was a wake-up call. William wasn't just setting boundaries with Camilla. He was announcing his leadership style, one that favors clarity over confusion, order over chaos, and legacy over personal accommodation. By the end of that meeting, one thing had become unshakably clear. The final warning wasn't just about one incident. It was about defining the future rules of royal engagement and making sure everyone understood their place in it. And in that moment, the crown didn't just feel real, it felt reshaped. Palace tensions begin to leak out. What began as a private confrontation soon slipped beyond palace walls. Within days of William's final warning, subtle but unmistakable signs of strain started to show. Royal watchers noticed the change in tone. Palace statements became shorter, colder, and noticeably careful. Certain royal reporters began hinting at a serious conversation behind the scenes. It was clear something had shifted. At first, it was just body language. A cancelled joint appearance here, a reshuffled schedule there. Then came the whispers, briefings from unnamed aides describing growing unease between camps. One outlet described it as a quiet power struggle, unfolding in the halls of Buckingham Palace. No one mentioned Camilla directly, but the implication was loud enough. Something had gone wrong. Even palace-friendly commentators couldn't ignore the atmosphere. They noted how quickly media access tightened and how rare it had become for William and Camilla to be mentioned in the same breath during official communications. Behind closed doors, staff reportedly divided into factions, those loyal to William's modern vision and those still standing firmly behind Camilla and Charles's traditionalist court. The warning, though private, had created a ripple effect. Charles, reportedly torn between his son and his queen, kept his public stance neutral. But his silence only fueled more speculation. Was he backing Camilla? Was he refusing to choose? And what did that mean for the future chain of command? "What the public sees is always filtered," said one former royal correspondent. But the sudden chill in communication, that's real. That's coordinated. As tension leaked out, public curiosity spiked. Was the monarchy united or only pretending? And could it withstand internal friction when its reputation was already under global scrutiny? The palace didn't offer answers, but the silence spoke volumes. Why this matters for the monarchy. This isn't just about one argument between royals, this is about control. And when the future king draws a line in the sand, the whole system feels it. Prince William isn't just any royal. He's the heir, the face of the monarchy's future. That's why his final warning carries weight. If he's issuing ultimatums, it signals the crown's internal structure is under pressure, and that he's no longer willing to silently absorb decisions that threaten its future. For the monarchy, built on unity, image, and tradition, even the appearance of division is dangerous. Experts agree, tension between William and Camilla raises concerns about long-term stability. This isn't just a personal disagreement, it's a constitutional red flag. With Charles managing health issues and Harry out of the picture, the burden of the monarchy's future rests on fewer shoulders. If those shoulders aren't aligned, cracks become headlines, and headlines turn into public doubt. William's warning also sends a message. He's willing to protect the crown, even if it means exposing internal fractures. For supporters, it's a sign of strength. For critics, it may reveal a monarch in waiting who doesn't always follow tradition. "He's not just the heir anymore," said one royal analyst. "He's already taking command, one line at a time." And that's why it matters. Because this isn't just about family. It's a crossroads moment for the monarchy, and the kind of leadership it's stepping into. Camilla's response, official and unofficial. As the royal drama played out in whispers and headlines, Queen Camilla's response was nothing short of calculated silence. The palace made no mention of a final warning, no acknowledgement of behind-the-scenes turmoil, only a string of carefully worded press releases filled with the usual phrases: commitment to duty, family unity, and respect for the crown. But that silence only made the public dig deeper. Behind the scenes, insiders claim Camilla was shaken, but determined not to show it. She reportedly continued with her royal duties as scheduled, appearing poised at several public engagements, flashing polite smiles while the press exploded with speculation. Her team, according to palace aides, worked overtime to reinforce her image as the queen consort, composed, loyal, and unbothered. Still, the damage was hard to ignore. Commentators noted a sudden shift in her public tone, less visible interaction with William, more cautious body language, and zero overlap in key engagements with the Prince of Wales. Rumors circulated that senior aides had been told to separate their schedules where necessary. Officially, Camilla stayed above the noise. Unofficially, palace whispers suggested she was deeply hurt by what some insiders called a controlled distancing from William's camp. For a royal once painted as the monarchy's survivor, this was an unusual and vulnerable moment. "She knows her role is delicate," said one former courtier. "She's been accepted, but she's never been untouchable." And now, with William drawing visible lines, her place in the power structure seemed more uncertain than ever. William's leadership style emerges. What shocked many wasn't just the content of William's alleged warning. It was the way he delivered it. Calm, sharp, unshakable. Gone was the younger royal once expected to follow tradition quietly. In his place stood a future king who was no longer just preparing. He was already leading. Over the last few years, William's leadership has gradually evolved from soft diplomacy to firm strategy. From environmental speeches to mental health campaigns, he's carved out a modern royal identity. But this latest move showed something deeper: a willingness to confront palace politics head-on. Insiders say his private meetings are now marked by structure and directness. He listens, then speaks, but when he does, it's decisive. In this case, the final warning to Camilla was reportedly methodical, not emotional. He didn't lash out, he set terms. And that approach is already redefining his role within the family. Even royal traditionalists who favor discretion have taken notice. Some praised him for putting principle before politeness, while others feared it may fracture the family even further. But either way, it marked a clear turning point. "He's not waiting to become king to take charge," said a royal correspondent. "He's already setting the tone, and people are adjusting whether they like it or not." Critics say it may come off as too forceful, too soon, but supporters argue it's exactly what the monarchy needs. A firm hand, willing to defend the future even when it means clashing with the past. And with Charles's reign seen as transitional, William's assertiveness may not just be bold, it might be necessary. Outside reactions. Press and public. The moment whispers of a final warning reached the public, the press went into overdrive. Headlines blared across major tabloids. "William draws the line," "Camilla's misstep," and "Royal rift explodes." It was the kind of royal story that stirs centuries-old loyalties and reignites modern doubts. Mainstream media, especially across the UK and Commonwealth countries, framed the narrative as a generational clash, the old guard versus the new. William, cast as the protector of tradition and future stability, was praised by many as showing real king energy. Camilla, meanwhile, found herself again under the microscope. Her every past controversy, from the Diana era to recent moves, dissected in comment sections and YouTube panels. Social media turned into a battleground of opinions. Supporters of William flooded platforms like X and Instagram, applauding his courage to confront palace politics. "He's the only one willing to stand up for the future," one post read, racking up over 30,000 likes. But Camilla's defenders fired back, calling the coverage unfair and accusing royal fans of recycling outdated grudges. Polls soon followed. An online poll by a major outlet showed 67% of respondents backed William's actions, while only 22% sympathized with Camilla. Among younger audiences, William's support was even stronger, especially from those who still carry emotional loyalty to Princess Diana's legacy. "This was never just about Camilla," one political editor noted. "It's about control, image, and who the public truly trusts to lead the monarchy forward." With global outlets from Canada to Australia picking up the story, what started as a private palace conflict quickly became a worldwide royal spectacle. What comes next? Now, all eyes are on the next move, not just from William or Camilla, but from the entire royal structure. Will the Queen Consort adjust her approach and quietly fade into ceremonial roles? Or will she push back, subtly or otherwise, to protect her influence? Experts say one thing is certain: William's warning has changed the game. Senior aides are reportedly reassessing who attends what events, who speaks to the press, and how decisions are shared between royal households. From the outside, the monarchy may appear steady. But inside, the rules are being rewritten. In the coming months, key royal appearances will be scrutinized like never before. If Camilla's presence begins to lessen at major family events, the public will take it as confirmation that William's warning carried weight. If not, it could spark further questions about who really holds power behind palace walls. Succession narratives are also shifting. Analysts suggest William's decisive leadership is being noted not just by his supporters, but by Charles's closest advisors, potentially influencing future roles and responsibilities sooner than expected. "This isn't a one-time warning," said a royal insider. "This is the beginning of William's reign, unofficial but unmistakable." And the monarchy? It stands at a delicate intersection, one where every expression, every absence, and every lineup at the palace gates tells a story of power, loyalty, and legacy. And now, a silent standoff between the future king and the queen consort that could shape the crown for decades to come. The warning is out. The silence is over. And the royal family may never operate the same way again.